Hi everyone, welcome to the Medical Files. I am Swapnil Banerjee and here in this video we are going to learn about a very important structure of our GI system, that is the stomach. So firstly, before we move into the main part of our video, I'd like to tell you we are going to learn the complete anatomy of stomach into 3 parts. In this part specifically, we are going to learn anatomical position, the stomach bed, the parts of stomach and the histology of stomach. And in the next part, we shall learn the arterial supply of stomach. And in the third part, we shall learn the nerve supply of stomach. So firstly, talking about the anatomical position of stomach. The stomach has 2 orifices. One, the cardiac orifice and one, the pyloric orifice. The cardiac orifice attaches the stomach with the lower part of esophagus and the pyloric orifice attaches the stomach with the first part of duodenum. The cardiac orifice lies at the level of T11 vertebra and the pyloric orifice lies at the level of L1 vertebra. Now if we talk about the quadrants, then the stomach specifically acquires the upper left quadrant of our body. Now talking about the regions, the stomach acquires our umbilical, epigastrium and left hypochondrium. Now let's talk about the peritoneal surfaces. At the interior surface of stomach lies the greater sac and at the posterior surface of the stomach lies the lesser sac. So now comes the massive high topic, that is the stomach bed. And the stomach bed is formed by a number of structures that we'll have to remember. We shall not only mug up things, we shall understand the things. So now if you elevate the stomach, which structures you will actually visualize? These structures are the spleen itself, splenic artery, splenic flexure, left kidney and left suprarenal gland, the pancreas itself, the transverse colon and transverse mesocolon, and finally the left crust of diaphragm. So these are the organs that forms stomach bed. Now talking about the borders of stomach. The stomach has 2 borders. At the right side it has the lesser curvature and at the left side it has the greater curvature. Now at the lesser curvature you can see an angular part or a notch, that is the incisura angularis. The lesser curvature gives attachment to the lesser omentum, specifically the hepatogastric ligament, and the greater curvature gives connection to the greater omentum. Now talking about the parts of stomach. The stomach has 4 parts. These parts are the cardiac part, fundus, body, the largest part of the stomach, and finally the pylorus. The cardiac part is the part just below the cardiac orifice. The fundus is the superior projection just by the cardiac part. Whenever you see the X-ray, you may have noticed the fundal gas. The fundal gas lies just in this region. Now talking about the body, largest part of stomach. This lies below the fundus to the pylorus. Do you remember the incisura angularis that we have discussed earlier? This part makes the boundary between the body of stomach and the pylorus. The pylorus is further divided into 2 parts. One is the pyloric antrum and finally the pyloric canal. Now talking about histology of stomach. So normally in our GI system, we have 4 layers. They are mucosa, submucosa, muscularis externa and serosa. But in case of stomach, you will have to remember there's 2 massive differences. One in the layer of muscularis externa. In case of other GI parts, it contains only 2 layers. But in case of stomach, it contains another layer, that is the oblique muscles. They contain some longitudinal grooves. These grooves are called rugae. If we dive down, it contains some pit-like structures and glands. There are mainly 3 cells in our stomach. They are the parietal cell or oxyntic cells that secrete hydrochloric acid and maintains the acidic environment in our stomach. It also releases the intrinsic factor that helps in absorption of vitamin B12. Now another cell is chief cell or zygomatic cell. They helps in secretion of pepsinogen. And the last cell in our stomach is G cell that helps in secretion of gastrin. Now remember, the parietal cells are mainly predominant in our body and fundus region, and the G cells are mainly predominant in our pyloric antrum. So that was the basics yet very important part of the anatomy of stomach. And here also remember, the gastric bed is a very important question from your academics point of view. As I have told you earlier, I am going to upload 2 more parts on the anatomy of stomach. They are the arterial supply of stomach and the nerve supply of stomach. Subscribe to the Medical Files not to miss those important videos. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Stay safe, keep learning, and bye.